Yep.
Okay. So my question's more about like the whole book and how you really got interested into it, because like Keen said that like this is one of your favorite books, but like when I first started reading it, I just couldn't get hooked. So like, what's it like? How can you get hooked into it? Because it seems like really interesting, but like it just like didn't excite me at first. So I want to know how. It's like,
Well, I think for a book like this, you have to be intellectually curious, and so I think a lot of it has to do with the reader. If the reader's not intellectually curious and doesn't want to find out, then maybe it's a book that you need to wait and pick up when you are ready to be intellectually curious. But I think if you approach it with that interest, what ideas can I start thinking about while reading this book that I've never thought about before? And if you're willing to put the work in, and it's definitely a book that takes work. I mean, you've got to, and you can see I've got, this thing's all marked up. I've got, 10 different colors of notes in here and markings, and I enjoy going back to it because I enjoy thinking about the ideas, and thinking about humanity in a different way and the implications of this story and how I can apply it to other times. And I think this is a book that is so universal, and it can be applied to any war. It can be applied to any instance where one country has gone into another for any reason or claimed any reason. I think generally it all boils down to money, as it did in this book too. I think that's what makes great literature great, is that it doesn't, the power of this didn't end in, the early 1900s when the story ends, or the 1890s when the story ends. It goes forever. And when I read this, I think of Vietnam, and I love comparing Apocalypse Now with this book and thinking about, because it's not the same plot, that the plot is different, but the players are the same.
right.
The players are the same, and the lie is the same. The idea that civilized people, I think it's so important to put themselves off as moral and good, and America is the moral police of the whole world, and Belgium was going to Africa to help wean the ignorant millions from their horrid ways. And it's all a big fat lie, and we continue to buy it and we eat it up. We Americans love to pat ourselves on the back, and I think it's interesting to think about, and why must we do that, and is that better than the truth? Because Kurtz stopped lying about it, and it was horrendous. And as Marlowe says, that he ends with a lie. He lies to the intended. The truth is too dark. And is that true? Should we just maintain the lie and pretend that everything is good and we operate based on morality, or should we really examine it? And if we examine it, are we risking going too far, like Kurtz did? So I don't know. I don't think a teacher can just get you into it until you're ready to say, okay, I'm going to try to figure out why this is so interesting and put the work into it and see if I can get what somebody else has gotten.
And another question like that I thought of just while you were talking, do you think this like has any correlation to do with like the stuff going in Africa right now and like with Kony? Like do you like
Oh, sure.
just hearing about Kurtz and stuff, I see like a correlation between the two people. So
Yeah.
that's like interesting.
Definitely. I think what Heart of Darkness shows us is that man is capable of being incredibly immoral, and that a man who looks moral and good in society, that doesn't mean that that's who he is naturally, that it's really easy to be moral and good when you have food on your plate, and you have laws and people to enforce them, and you have this structure. And so it's so easy for people to appear like good human beings. But what we see here is take those same great, good human beings out of those comfortable situations in society and look what they're capable of. And so I think, again, when we look at some of the atrocities that continue to occur in Africa, I think we have to recognize, number one, we do need to be very aware of the fact that when humans have the opportunity to be selfish and get everything they possibly can for themselves, they do it if they can get away with it. And so we need to figure out, sort of as a world, what do we do to prevent that from happening? And we waited too long with the Holocaust. Nobody stepped in when they should have. How long do we wait when we see, similar atrocities occurring where people are taking advantage of the situation because they have the power and ability to do so? Who's going to step in and stop them? And are we going to step in and stop them when it begins, or are we going to wait until it's some sort of personal interest to us? And I think that's the problem. Again, it goes back to human nature. We wait until it's politically important to us or financially important to us, and when it's not, we tend to say, well, we can't get involved. It's not our business. And it is our business. Mr. Potter, who used to teach social studies here, said the other day, you can't be neutral when somebody's being victimized. And I think that's something that you can take from this book and make current connections with.
Thanks.